My name is Brittany Erpstead, and I will be discussing genetic engineering. I will cover a summary of genetic engineering, a little history overview, genome therapy, genetic sequencing, genetically modified foods, and common arguments. The overview of genetic engineering. It is also known as genetic modification, scientific advancement that contains an assortment of technologies used to change the genetic makeup of cells. Genes are considered to be the chemical blueprints that make up the specific traits of any organism. The technique of genetic engineering is the process in which there can be a transfer of genes between species to produce a more improved organism. A little history. Some say it starts back in the ancient times around 1200 BC when people started to domesticate different types of organisms. In 1865, Gregor Mendel, or also known as the father of genetics, introduced his work on breeding of genetically modified organisms that laid the foundation for modern genetics. In 1973, Staniel Cohen and Herbert discovered the process of cloning through DNA that allowed biological transfers between different species. Dolly the lamb was to be considered the first successful organism resulting in the cloning process. However, in 2001, George W. Bush cut funding for genetic engineering due to the negative uproar from the public, leaving scientists without the proper funding to create these new ideas of biotechnology to their fullest capabilities. Genome therapy. Genome therapy was first introduced in 1991. Genome therapy is the process of introducing a new gene to replace, supplement, or alter an abnormal gene that is responsible for disease. Diseases such as Huntington's disease and cystic fibrosis are caused by abnormal gene in their DNA. This type of DNA treatment allows patients such as with diabetes and hemophilia to have a more patient-friendly treatment and no series of painful injections. Genome therapy can also be beneficial for those suffering from heart diseases. Scientists are creating a new gene that can be inserted into the bloodstream that helps fight the heart disease. Genome therapy is a safe, innovative way to help those suffering from deadly illnesses. Genetic sequencing. This is also known as human cloning. The idea of human cloning has always been a largely debated topic. By creating human clones, it allows couples to have babies that are genetically their own. Take example for a homosexual couple that want a baby of their own and want the genetic sequencing can make that possible by combining both parents' DNA. Scientists are also researching the idea of using cloning to create stem cells that are genetically identical to the individual involved. In the process of creating stem cells from the sick individual, scientists can have a better understanding of these disease itself, as well as find a much more safer medical treatment. Being able to use this medical technology, scientists can also start cloning actual organs and body parts for people who are in need of them. Human cloning of organs and body parts eliminate the idea of the body rejecting the new body part and that would otherwise be required for the individual to take immunosuppressive drugs. Genetic sequencing also has the stem cell benefit for the environment. The stem cells can help repopulate endangered species such as animals and plants. Genetically modified foods. Scientists can target foods to produce a higher nutrition value. They can use GMO foods to produce vaccinated-induced foods, such as the potato that already has been induced with a vaccination for diarrhea that is actually been FDA approved. This would also cost low cost for poor families, such as for medical bills, and they can't afford the injections if they're sick. They can just go at their local grocery store and buy a fruit or vegetable that might have that vaccine already inside. Also, genetically modified foods create higher resources for poor countries. There are some countries that can't have certain crops or grow the abundance of crops they need because of the climate change or the salt water in the air, while genetically modified foods can modify to the certain temperatures, making it a lot more productive. Some common arguments that people have about genetic engineering is most people just think it's unacceptable and unethical, but without really even knowing many of the facts. But we have to remember, as once a society, in vitro fertilization was considered to be unacceptable, unethical, immoral, and now it's something used very commonly. Also, probably one of the biggest ones is that we say, well, you're playing God. Well, now let's look. Look at surgeons who play God. Are they not playing God when they use unnatural methods to save a person's life, taking in organs, taking out, cutting, inserting? In genetically engineering, altogether, people think is unsafe, but that is completely false. Yes, there's side effects, just like every other treatment or scientific advance, but the benefits outweigh the negative. And here is my work cited. Thank you for listening.